What's up, everybody? My name is Parasite. Sports Interactive dropped a 42-minute video where they showed us the 5 key headline feature areas for Football Manager 2023. I'll be showing you 4 of those key headline feature areas. The 5th being a dynamic manager timeline, which doesn't affect gameplay. It does provide a nice visual representation of your manager's career, but this video is all about the most important new features in FM23. I won't be giving my extended opinion on these though, that'll be for future videos. But before we get to the 4 headline feature areas, Sports Interactive did slip in a few images at the start of the video. They didn't discuss them, but they showed a few new options for your in-game manager. In FM23, they have redone some of the clothing options for your manager, so you can now don a suit that actually looks like a good suit. You've also been given some new accessory options, such as a watch, earrings, or rings, and even a scarf that you can customize as well. But that's just a teaser. So let's get into the 4 key headline feature areas in FM23. The first area is a full recruitment revamp. They have changed how you scout players, how you interact with agents, and how you build your squads. The first, and in my opinion, biggest feature in this recruitment revamp is the squad planner. It is similar to the squad depth screen you have in FM22 and previous FMs, but provides a lot more features tied to squad building. In the new squad planner, you can plug in your tactic. Then you can go through all the positions and manually rank your players in each of these positions. This will not only show you the squad depth you have at the club, but also help the staff provide suggestions for the recruitment meetings. But my favorite part of the new squad planner is it isn't just limited to players under contract. You can also add any players on a shortlist to the squad planner and see how they compare to the rest of your squad. Another key thing that differentiates itself from the current squad depth screen you have in FM22 is you can plan out your squad for up to 2 seasons in the future. So if you know a player will be leaving at the end of the season, you can remove them from next season's squad planner. And you can fill it in with any youngsters that might be coming through your youth academy or any players you have on your shortlist. Another new change is they have renamed the scouting assignments to recruitment focuses and added a few new options. My favorite new addition is that you can now set a priority for each individual recruitment focus. So now you can send your scouts out looking for midfielders and strikers at the same time. But if you need a striker now and you just need a midfielder for the future, you can change the priority for your striker recruitment focus to top, and that'll be the first thing they do. They've also given you the option to set a minimum proficiency for a position. Last year, if you had an assignment to get a striker, they wouldn't look at anyone that wasn't natural as a striker. Now you can set the proficiency, and anyone that's at least good as a striker will still show up in your scouting reports. They've also changed how you receive scouting reports in your inbox. You now only receive one inbox item, and it shows you all the players they found in their scouting that match your criteria. After the scouts have started to find players that fit that recruitment focus, you can see the recommended players that fit all the criteria and what they call near matches. Players who are just missing out on a few key attributes that you specified that still could be of use to your squad. Another big change in scouting is that they've removed scouting percentages. You now see the knowledge level of a player as minimal, reasonable, or extensive. The third change in the recruiting revamp is they have added new options when talking to players' agents. After you ask an agent about the player's interest, if you don't like his wage demands or playing time expectation, you can now ask the agent if the player be willing to lower his potential wage demands or playing time expectations. You can also ask if they'd actually be willing to accept a higher wage to forego some of the promises in their contract. As you can see here, the agent initially wanted between 4.2K and 6K per week in terms of wages. After asking him to lower his demands, he said he would accept between 3.8 and 5.25 thousand. But he prefaces it by saying that he's interested in signing, but let's not pretend that a lower wage offer won't affect just how interested he is in doing so. So there always is a potential downside. Another huge change that I love is that now you can't just talk to agents of players not under contract. You can now approach the agent of any player under contract, engage their wage demands for a potential new deal. So now you don't have to enter contract negotiations to see how much a player would want for a new contract. And you can still approach the agent about lowering potential wage demands like you would an external player. The second feature area is match AI and animation changes, something everyone's always calling for. In FM23, AI managers now use a similar playing style to their real-life counterparts, and they do these both in CPU v CPU matches and CPU versus user. They've also made some changes to the tactics screen. This year they had an emphasis on the defensive side of the ball and trying to make a low block and counter-attacking football viable. You now have 3 options for a line of engagement, and they are now called high press, mid block, and low block. They've also started to use more specific football terminology like you hear from the managers. So now you don't have the option to set an offside trap. Instead, they can hold their defensive line, which is basically the same thing, or they can drop deeper as the opposition pushes forward. Defensive width has now been renamed to pressing traps. So you can choose to trap inside, which is basically force opposition inside, or trap outside, which is basically trap opposition outside. Or you can still choose neither to go for a more balanced approach. You also now have the option to either stop or invite crosses into your box, which could lead to some interesting tactical decisions. Continuing on with the theme of defense, marking, pressing, and headed clearances have all been tweaked as well. More of an emphasis has been placed on not just tackling the man in possession, but blocking passing lanes and marking opposition threats. They've also added more new goalkeeper animations when they look to make saves. They have made improvements when the goalkeepers are in possession. Animations as a whole have also been overhauled in FM23 to make the game and the match engine feel more realistic. If you want to hear them go in depth on the new animations, I've got the link to the video that Sports Interactive put out in the description. Go to 22:36 in the video to see them talking about animations. The third feature area is one a lot of people already knew about. They have the official UEFA Club Competition license. So now the Champions League, the Europa League, the Europa Conference League, and the Super Cup are all officially licensed in the game. Because of this, we now have realistic pre-match branding in UEFA competitions. You can see that in the team sheet, the scoreboard, and even in player walkouts where they have real match day props. They've also added real stages for the competitions for the trophy lifts. You can see that in the Europa Conference League, the Europa League, and the Champions League. But my favorite new feature in this area is that the UEFA Cup draws now have the same excitement as their real-life counterparts. You can now see text commentary for each draw, and you can see which teams can and cannot be drawn into each group. The fourth and final feature area I'll be going over in this video is the supporter confidence. In FM23, you no longer just have the board to appease and meet the expectations of. You now have to do the same thing for your supporters. The supporters have their own culture and expectations and opinion on the job you're doing as manager. You can now see the profile of your supporters and are told the level of influence they have over board decisions. And this is different for every club. So if the fans have a fair amount of influence, if you can get them behind you, you can hold on to a job that otherwise might have been shaky. But the same is true of the alternative. If you can't keep the fans happy, you might get Arsene Wengered. And that is it for the main new features that we know so far for Football Manager 2023. In future videos, I'll be breaking down each of these in detail, and I'll be giving my opinion whether I think they're a good thing or a bad thing. If you made it this far, why don't you like the video, subscribe, and click the bell. The links to all my socials and my Twitch are in the description. I really appreciate all your support. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you next time.